the software companies. Nuke, by the Foundry, for instance, has come out with, we're called the Collective. They've come out with the Collective package. Spelled differently, but the idea is the same. Their Collective package has 4 different things on one side and 3 different things on the other side. Their pricing for student licensing per year is $250 US or something. If you're a member of the Collective, iCollective, this program, you'll be offered that license for $125 US. When you graduate school, you'll be able to go and get a full commercial license within 2 years of graduating for a vastly reduced price. For students that can't afford that $125, the Collective, not their Collective, my Collective, will supply that software, will supply the equipment. In looking at starting this program with SCAD first, I did it with SCAD because SCAD is one of the best schools for pushing their students out there into the workplace. They're also one of the best schools for having a high employment rate in the industry that the students study in. And one other thing that I found really, really strange, I was looking online, and somebody said SCAD has a commitment to incorporating sophisticated technology into our curriculum. And I hope SCAD really does that easily, because I'm going to give a bunch of software to SCAD as well over the course of the next next semester. And I'm working very much with Gabriel here, Mr. Teo, on getting more packages available for students, not just the one that the Foundry is committed to, but a lot of other ones where you can actually have that software in your laptop. And if you can't afford a laptop, we'll find a way to get you there. And if the school won't let you load the software on their system because they have some kind of IT policy, we'll find you a system somewhere off campus that you can come and utilize, and we'll load the software into that. You know, it's not about hindering, it's about enabling and creating the opportunities. And the guy that said about, you know, getting the sophisticated software and making that commitment and putting it part of the curriculum was actually Peter Weischer, who is the Dean of Film and Media Studies at Savannah College of Art and Design. That's what he said. And I reckon if he's good enough to say that and SCAD really mean it, then we'll work with it and see how far we can take it. As far as everything else goes that these students have done, I can't say enough how well and how pleased I am with what they've done in the short time that they've done it. The way that they work is amazing. The way that the collaboration has happened between different parts of SCAD is truly amazing. I hope more professors within SCAD take up, as the gentleman in the back with the glasses right there, and Mr. Teo, take up getting involved with their students directly and hands-on, and getting into things that, like this, are going to, you know, help them get something real for their real and for themselves. And the amount that they're learning is truly, truly, to me, amazing. As I said, I could take the dinosaurs ages with me to figure that out. To take the next step and find the opportunities into working as an intern or stepping forward and going into employment. At Shaw, we're going to offer 5 places for summer internships, which can start right now and go on through the summer. Part of what we're going to do there is things like this. We'll work on some old movies that Shaw's already done, that we've got the files and the license that we can play around with, and maybe do some of the stuff better than what was done when the film was released, just to show. And hopefully from that, take it to another step to where the next time we do a film in Shaw, we'll be able to go and employ a team properly to do that out of either existing students or students that have graduated. But these 5 internship slots that are open, you need to email eric@starkraving.com. I'm also looking for somebody to do the Collective website, so it would be great to use some of you guys' artwork, and certainly the SCAD information that SCAD will allow it, to put this forward as the first thing on the online platform for the Collective. And you can go to thecollective.com and see a blank page right now. This page is intentionally left blank, but hopefully it won't be for very long. So anybody that's interested in eric@starkraving.com or see Gabriel, just let me know and we'll see how we can fit you in. And maybe it's 5 persons total, or maybe it's only 5 persons a day. My boss didn't quite clarify, so we'll take as much advantage of it as we can. And anybody interested is certainly welcome to step forward and come with that. The other thing that we've got going on, taking Gabriel's lead and how he's brought Chris up here to talk to everybody about what he does and everything and work with the students, I'm told, over the course of the next few days or week. I think that's a fabulous idea. So much so that I've contacted a couple of VFX houses in Hong Kong, and I'm going to contact another one, hopefully right now while we're here, because I see it, and see if those VFX people won't come on board and work with me over the summer with the students, whether we do a student exchange swap, or we have some here and some there, or we duplicate the process, or we do whatever we do, but we'll find a way for the students that want to actually go out and work with VFX professionals here in Hong Kong. I'm not a VFX guy. I'm not anything. I just do things. And this is something I really want to do. So we're going to try and make that opportunity available as well. The only thing I can say further is that I hope every professor, teacher, educator here at SCAD and every other university that might be in the room will struggle and strive as hard as these two gentlemen have to make a difference with the students. Because I've never seen a Pied Piper with students like the people just follow. And they're really happy to do that. And that shows me that he's inspirational. It shows me he knows how to teach, and he captures the student's mind, which is, I think, a very valuable thing, especially in today's world that we see ourselves living in. Exactly. And I can shut up now if you want. No. I can talk for days. You shouldn't clap me. You should clap all these guys and James work. And obviously, the two gentlemen as well.
The next thing is we have Chris on board.
That's me.
So yeah, you, Chris. I want to give a big shout out to all the students who has worked so hard to make today happen. This event is created solely by students. Students, for professionals. We worked so hard and learned so much because creating events is not easy as let's come on Friday, 10 o'clock. It's so much work. We ran out of food. Chris almost died on the ground, on the street, dehydrated, jet lag. But it's kind of working out well, so we learned a lot. But I just want to give a big shout out to like everybody in this room. You're here because you're passionate about what we do. That's very important because I can't say enough of passion because, for my little tiny brain, I'm pretty, I'm so slow to learn, really retarded sometimes. But my passion, no one can argue with it. I love what I do. And I will not sleep until we think about that and done more. And all the students that we meet, I can't say enough, man. They've been with me for many quarters. But as long as I'm around, they're around. And they're amazing. So not just video effects students, but illustrators too. And all the different departments in SCAD. So that's very cool. Now we have Chris. Chris, you can introduce yourself. Everybody's here because Chris. But again, I'm very happy today because getting Chris here again is not just about money, but again he's working hard on his work from New Zealand, first time in Asia. So we have some fun with Chris. Food. So I'll let Chris take on the stage. Here you go.
Brilliant. Okay, so I am Chris, obviously. Chris Gerrard. This is my first time teaching, so you'll be able to tell in a few minutes' time when I stumble and stuff. I've got a small presentation that I've put together. I think I got the okay on last Thursday, so I had very, very little time to hear anything, so I apologise in that regard. You're looking for more time, but we're here now, ready to go.
So I feel bad for Chris because he's like, what do you want me to do? I'm like, oh, just a little 5 guys. We're gonna go to this room to talk about your stuff. I didn't tell you it's gonna be this big event. So he relaxes like this morning, and then so that's the way to get in here, right?
Yeah. Anyway, I was going to say one other disclaimer. I am here on my own regard. I do work for Weta, but I'm contracted to Weta. So if I say anything, it's not exactly what Weta thinks or their ideas. It's kind of my understanding of it. So it's not all like exactly from them. So it's my perception of how it is. So yeah. So what I'm going to start with is give away a t-shirt. I think I'm going to give away this one here. So I've got a few to give away. I'm going to start like this. This is the men's medium, which I don't know what it would be to you guys, but yeah, I'm going to take the people can tell me what is my favorite movie. So it's kind of big. I don't know why. I haven't seen none of those. So if someone should hand up and take a guess, and if no one gets it really quickly, it's wrong. So anyone wants to put their hand up and try it? It's best movie. Yep. No.
Lord of the Rings.
No.
Notebook. Notebook.
No. Not. It's visual effects, so it's not like it didn't win an Oscar, and we didn't work on it. Rings of Fortune. No.
I've never seen that one.
And it came out in 2007, so it's...
Editor?
Keep going. There's 3 of them now.
Is it like a scary show or like a love story?
No, it's a true story.
True story? I
Three of them. Anybody?
Iron Man?
No.
3 of them?
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings? No.
No, we didn't work on it.
Okay.
Digital domain.
Digital domain?
Yeah.
Millennium.
No. No. Okay. 5 more.
Thunderbird?
No. This movie all time more.
I'm a long clue, man.
Yeah. Starts with T. Yes!
There you go.
Who won it? Who won it?
You get a ladies.
Yeah, okay, that's yours. There you go.
And all these t-shirts, you can't get it from like the stores, alright? These are all from Vera Digital from New Zealand. So,
Thank
yours.
you.
Woo! Very nice. Okay, so what we're going to do is talk about me for a little bit, to say who I am, where I come from, how I got to Weta, and then we'll go over Hobbit and Ace to worked on, and then we'll have a Q&A at the end, so if you've got questions, write them down or remember them, and then if you ask a question and it's decent, then you'll get a t-shirt or some other stuff. Cool, so I went to school at SCADVFX College, which is in Auckland, in New Zealand. It's in Lebanon, which is kind of like a rough part of town, but people travel there, they get quarters and all sorts, so I've been there for 7 years. And then finished up there when I was 17, I think, and then one of the best things I ever did was took a gap year for 2 years. I was a bit slow, so I did too. When we finished school, there was nothing at my school whatsoever that linked with special effects. There was nothing that even hinted at this was a career. And that's one thing that annoys me, being where I am now, because I could have saved those 2 years, made more money, I could meet more people, more projects, and there was just nothing. It wasn't mentioned. I said that I liked computers and I liked protecting people and stuff, so the only thing my career guidance sort of said was to become a policeman. And that was just on the list of her career jobs. The other thing she said is go to university or do a trade. That was the options. And there is no special effects schools really in New Zealand that do, like a general broad sort of sense. So that was frustrating, to be honest. But that did lead me to finding this Bachelor of Creative Technologies, which is the course that I did. This is where I met Gabe, unfortunately. But yeah, I finished school, didn't know what I was going to do. Spent 2 years just working retail, doing nothing. And then I was going to do a 3rd year, and then changed my mind at the last minute. And I think it was about 3 days before university started, and I'd been on the AUT website about 1 million times trying to find something, and I couldn't. And then 3 days before the start of the term, they launched this BCT, they called it. And I just so happened to log in that day, found it, applied. I think it was 18 people got it. So my first year there was 18 people from all walks of life. No one knew what was going to happen, no one knew what it was about. They kind of mentioned all these names, things that we were going to do. And yeah, it was a bit of a, we were the guinea pigs. We turned up on the first day and they had all this new building, new computers with programs that we'd never heard of. And yeah, that was kind of our starting point to day one. So I'll go back into that in a second, but then the other thing, sort of learning-wise, that I've done is an internship at October. You might have heard of it. They did, or they changed, but they did like stuff Nickelodeon. So it was an animation house kind of. They did Madagascar, the TV series, so like kid shows, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Kung Fu Panda.
Yeah, and Kung Fu Panda. So while I was setting that up while I was there, it used to be like an advertising agency, but through my sister who worked with someone, got me an internship there, so that was something that I didn't chase, it just fell in my lap. I worked 2 days a week for about 6 months for free, and yeah, it wasn't really special effects, it was more advertising, but it was After Effects, and that sort of led me on from there. And then ended up working with you, which I sort of had a chat to Gabe a little bit. Yeah, so that's pretty much where I'm from. That's right. Not bad. Yeah, everything in that shot is real apart from the sky. So me, so from my background, games, computers, soccer, golf, darts, boards, snowboarding. So yeah, I mean, everybody can do visual effects. We can sort of get together. You notice how many different people there are. There's people that do hiking, surfing, there's computer nerds that don't see the light of day, essentially. And yeah, so any background can do it, essentially. You don't have to be one sort of thing. So, type back. So yeah, they're pretty much the influential movies. I remember watching Avatar. I was in America, working in a snowfield and seeing that, and yeah, that was a special moment to watch that, to get to the end of it and know that Kiwi people had worked on it and knew that it was possible to make something like that. It was a big sort of push later on down the track once I figured it all out. And obviously Star Wars and Motor Rover was so AET, so the things I studied first year was everything coding, short films, gaming, art, modeling. So that was a bit of a deep end, a little bit of everything. Second year, I've got a lot of Modern Warfare, to be honest, in second year. There wasn't a lot of work done. But it was fun, and yeah, coding, design, theory. Theory was one thing that I struggled with. It was a lot of, we had like a really artsy sort of tutor, so he wanted to, think about stuff a lot, and he would take us to a park and think about stuff. It was really weird, but it's a learning experience. You have to cover the bases in order to know what you want to do. Third year animation, that was a little bit more. That was when I really hit the nail on the button. I was going to quit after 2 years, but then third year, After Effects is what started it all. It's kind of like a baby version of Nuke, but it's more a TV sort of target market. But yeah, that was what had me, and that was the year that I met Gabe. So here I got on this first day wearing stuff that he wears. And yeah, straight away, there's something, if you talk about it, you know what I'm talking about, but the passion that he has is, it instantly transfers over to yourself. And that was a big turning point. Learning After Effects, and then we also did a sound paper which we made music for a trailer, so that was another moment that sort of got it going. So the internship, so the things I learned in internship is something that it says the Southern side of fiction. So when you're growing up in school, I don't know how it is here, but I guess when you have A is pretty good, A plus, B and C. And in New Zealand, it's quite widely known that if you get a C, you pass. So people aim to get C's. And when I went to October, I would do something and it would look okay, and then I would get thrown in the toilet and I would get mad and they would yell at me and say this is terrible, do it again. And I would keep saying it's fine, the circle is round, it's fine, but they wanted something more. So that was something that stuck with me, and especially where they hold back shots for days. They look frame to frame. They don't look at a 3-second shot. Every frame is done perfectionist. So that was something that was good. Client wants what they want. You can't, when you have a client, you can't always put your touch and stuff. That was something else I learned. You have to, if they want an apple, they want an apple. You can't try and give them a banana. Good and bad is kind of philosophy. If you have 2 things to show a client, you have a favorite and you have a second favorite, or you have a good and bad one, never ever show them the bad one, because they always like the bad one. So show them the good one, and then just don't show them the bad one. Food. That was also where I learned that when you work for cool companies and they have lots of money, they waste money on food, so you get heaps of free food. So that was something cool that we do now. Yeah, NDA. NDA you will sign pretty much when you work in the company, and NDA is a non-disclosure agreement, which means that you can't talk about cool stuff, which is kind of silly, but clients always request it, so that is something else that you're doing pretty quickly that you can't always talk about at work. If you do, it's not fun. But yeah, something else I learned. So, yeah, honours at 4 years. Sorry about the honours at 4 years. You're pretty much got locked in a room for a year and had to come up with a show reel, which was 50% of my mark, and then I had to write about it, which is another 50% of my mark. So not a lot of writing, which is not my forte. So there is a document somewhere at AUT, which is like 30 pages long, terribly written, and explains special effects and essentially networking, which I'll talk about soon. We played a lot of Wii golf and different games. So yeah, the things that we kind of nailed it down to was preparation. So that is pretty much what we're doing now. Education, networking is one of the big things that people don't quite get. You might have 2 people that one does better work than the other, and if they know someone, they're going to get the job. Unfortunately, it's kind of how it is. It shouldn't be like that, but it is, and that's something that you're learning quite quickly. So doing things like this is always handy, getting to know people, meeting people, shaking people's hands. And also show reel. So you need something to show when you're trying to get into the job market. You have to have something to show, which is quite important. Unless you start like making copies of people and work your way out that way, which is the hard way and the uncool way. But you need something to show, so that's something that I did, which is online somewhere, but you should zero in it. Personalization, that is kind of talking about being in a room with someone, you introduce yourself and relating to them, making something that is humanize yourself, I guess you would say. It's kind of hard to explain, but if you're working for someone, or someone wants to hire you, they have to talk to you pretty much every day. And if you're an unpleasant person, they're not going to hire you. So there's something that is not really taught anywhere, but it's something that I kind of realized quite quickly that you want to work with your friends and you want to work with nice people and funny people, and you don't want to work with smelly people or rude people or loud people or whatever it is. So that's also personality, and then X factor is kind of what you need. You want to be the best at something. So if you're in a job with like a small company, you want to be the best. You want to be the best at doing survey. You want to be the best animator. You want to be the best at doing eyes, or whatever it is. You need to choose one thing and become an absolute best at it, because that is how you make good money. That's how you get good job security. And again, some people just they go for those C's, but if you get A+, it shows. It shows in the work. It shows in the personality. And yeah, not a lot of people sort of nothing. The stuff is not really taught. It's not mentioned as such. It wasn't there anyway. So yeah, so that's in my career. So cool. So I got a job. I got a call. I was working at Telecom, which is like a phone company in New Zealand. It's kind of the biggest one, and I worked through there for like 7 years, I think. So I got a call on a Thursday afternoon. I had an interview on Friday morning. I I got the job on Saturday, and I drove down to Wellington, which is 8 hours away on a Sunday. I quit my job on the spot, and then moved down and drove down in 8 hours and stayed in a really shitty hotel that wasn't fit for humans. So that's what I had to do with this. They said you want to start on Wednesday, I think it was. So I didn't even think about it. I didn't book a hotel and look at it. I just turned up. And my first day, the first person I met at Visa was a lady called Gigi who had I don't know what it's called, one of those things she put over like a towel and a hole in the middle. Poncho, here we go. Yeah, so she was wearing a poncho with no shoes on, and yeah, so that was the first person I met, and she was quite senior, and so I was dressed in like a suit almost, and I was like, wow, like there's no dress code here, really, it's all about being creative. So that was kind of a weird experience. Also Linux, they use Linux there, so if you're an expert at Mac or Windows, it's another third option. So yeah, learn a little bit about Linux because they use quite different. And if you have that, on CV, just slide it in there, learn like the basics, like the start button. And what about Weta? So the other thing about Weta is that even though it's a New Zealand company, I think it's 65% international. So yeah, there's a lot of people from a lot of different places, and there's only a few Kiwis there. Those who are in training schools like this, most of those are production people. So possibly people that just have Macs and all ground. Yeah. Cool. So I'm just going to show you this production video. So I don't know if you guys might have seen it. Is from the Hobbits. So we're just going to show this just to show you. Sorry, we're going to talk about the Hobbit and the roots, and this kind of explains how I get the plates from where I start from. So this is. Yeah.
Okay, lovely. Hi, welcome to our new.
I'm sorry, it's not HD, so. That's terrible quality.
Along. This time, we thought we'd talk a little bit about 3D.
Get a good look at your opening shot. Yeah, okay, you guys. Just arm it a little closer. Here's what you make.
Hi, I'm Angus.
This guy I work with every day. He used to go on set and he made the transition to digital. And yeah. So also what he's got behind him is sort of how we detect the 2D. Sorry, the 3D up in the left-hand corner. So that gives us interoperable, so it shows us how the depth in the shot is. And he explains that a little bit. So just watch that and ignore the rest.
Welcome to the world of 3D. Shooting a lot of 3D is a dream come true. I mean, if I had the ability to shoot Lord of the Rings in 3D, I certainly would have done it. What I actually did on the Lord of the Rings is I had a 3D camera taking 3D photographs. Hopefully, one day, maybe even on 3D Blu-ray, we might be able to actually show you some of the 3D photos from 10 or 12 years ago. It's 3D and I'm not reading that. It's all good. But now, the reality is that it's not that difficult to shoot in 3D. I love it when a film draws you in and you become part of the experience. And 3D helps immerse you in the film. But the essence of our camera system is a camera called the Red Epic.
Really, it's this thing that enables us to shoot 3D on the Hobbit.
But of course, to shoot 3D, you actually need two cameras.
The problem that we have in the cinema world is that the lenses that we use are so large that we cannot get an interocular similar to a human's, which is the separation between your eyes. For us to get the two cameras as close together as possible, they have to shoot into a mirror.
We have to use a mirror system, which is a rig that's designed by a company called Reality.
One's left eye, one's the right eye. One shoots through a mirror, the other one bounces off a mirror, and so the two images are perfectly overlaid. With using two eyes, we can move the cameras apart And also, more importantly, is find a convergence point. For example, see around someone's face, just like you're looking at a friend.
The convergence point is the screen plane that's 3D forms two places. Positive space, which is inside the box, what you see behind the person who's standing on the screen, and negative space, which is what you feel comes out into the audience, an arm, a bullet, or whatever you want.
And the whole idea with these rigs is you can change the interocular and the convergence as we're shooting.
We can see that separation on 2D screen with a left and a right eye overlay.
So we can do this live throughout a shot, changing our 3D effect the whole way through.
We're watching the movie in 3D as we make it. It looks so good. You almost feel like you're in it.
A lot of people have an image of 3D being big and cumbersome, and that's true, but we've got a lot of different rigs that we've built for different purposes. It's actually easier in this weird 3D world to have different camera systems for different uses. So this is a camera that we built to go on a crane that can move around and it never comes off the crane.
This is the TS5 in a handheld mode. It's our main workhorse camera. It's light, it's small, so it allows Peter to get into very tight, narrow corridors and caves as if he would with a 2D camera.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
You know, mobile camera work has always been very important for the films that I've made, and the last thing I wanted to do when we went to 3D was to restrict or change the shooting style.
So with the camera doing it as well, you don't need me to do much.
It was very important for The Hobbit that we feel like the same filmmakers have gone back into Middle-earth to tell a new story.
We're shooting at the same speed as you'd shoot 2D. Dollies, cranes, Steadicam, we put it on the shoulder and we shoot handheld. The same as we would always shoot a movie.
Of course, once you've got 3 or 4 cameras for main unit, you need 3 or 4 cameras for second unit, which is 8 cameras, which is really 16 cameras. This is a world of the Hobbit camera department.
We have 48 Red Epic cameras, and they're on 17 3D rigs.
This one's called Walter, which was my grandfather. This one's Ronald, my uncle. Emily was Fran's grandmother. Perkins was actually Fran's dog. Witchy Poo, Frank, Bill is my dad. Fergus is the name of one of our pugs. Tricky Woo, that's the name of Pekingese. Stan is another one of our pugs. His cameras called John and Paul, George and Ringo, who were not relations of mine.
Are we having fun?
Not shooting film, we shoot digitally, we shoot onto these cards, which slot in the side of the camera, and each one of these is 128 gig. On top of that, you're shooting at 5K resolution.
A very sharp, clear image.
Needs like a chart, but you know, like 5K's there, 4K's about there, and then your 1080 home TV is down here. So it gives you sort of an idea of the amount of information that we're actually capturing on these.
Let's do another one of those.
48 frames, yes.
Yep.
We're shooting The Hobbit at a higher frame rate at 48 frames per second, which is twice the normal 24 frames.
The human eye sees 60 frames a second. So 48 frames is more of a natural progression toward giving the viewer what they would actually see in the real world.
The people who have seen scenes of The Hobbit at 48 frames a second often say that it's like the back of the cinema has had a hole cut out of it where the screen is, and you're actually looking into the real world. Once you add stereo, and it gives you that extra ability to control depth, you can devise ways in which it can become part of the storytelling of the film. For instance, in Mirkwood, we really play on the fact that it's a forest that's kind of hallucinogenic almost. It draws you in. It makes you part of it, and you may never get out. What we want is just stay where you are. And
Stay back! Stay where you are!
Mirkwood is a big forest and it's full of vines and sinister looking trees, I suppose you say. It has a lot of things hanging down, a lot of things coming from all sorts of angles, and it helps us with the 3D to be able to push into that and try and get the audience to feel that they're actually trying to move into the forest with the cameras and give it that dark and look over your shoulder feeling. Colour-wise with the red camera, tends to eat colour a little, and so we add more colour.
if you look at the ungraded footage, the trees look incredibly psychedelic. They look like they were painted in 1967.
We wouldn't normally be quite as bold as this, even in Mirkwood, which is an enchanted forest, so it's like we oversaturate. Look!
In the movie, they won't look anything like that. They'll be graded down and you'll just get the barest hint of colour in the finished film.
You're coming back!
3D 48 frames is pretty unforgiving, and we have to change our whole way to go about coloring these things, because what we found out in early tests that if there wasn't enough red in these pieces, they would punch up yellow and react differently than normal skin with blood running through it. So here's an example. This is Graham McTavish, just swollen, and we've had to add a lot of red tones to his makeup. So if you notice, if you stick your hand up next to your face, how incredibly pale this man is right now.
I've barely seen daylight for the last 6 months.
So we have to add.
Okay. Well, it's over there. It's kind of the first of interesting, but it's not good. So, cool. So, why was it so bad? So, this is Wellington Airport. They work quite closely with ties with the workshop, which isn't really digital, even though it's the same thing. It's two different companies owned by different people, but they were commissioned to make one of these. And I think you can see the other people in the background. And we had an earthquake about 6 months ago, and that one, I believe this one fell down during the earthquake, and I just put well over the weeds. John Peter. So my title is stereo artist. It's kind of a very loose term, but it's the only thing that they can think of to sort of come up with. So every day I go in and I use Nuke. I'll take about 3 shots open at the same time normally. And then there's about 9 plus plugins for Nuke. The main one that we use is Ocular, which I'll show you in a second. So the main things that I do is color calibration. So that means you've got a left and a right eye when you shoot the Hobbit. So both eyes have to be worked on, and they both have to be perfect. So the first process I do is color matching. You'd be surprised, even with those mirrors, at how different shots can be. It's very, very minute. And if you look at one, you close down and have a blank screen, and you bring up a second image, you won't be able to tell the difference whatsoever. But if you put them both side by side, you do what's called a ping pong, where you go left, right, very quickly, you see it straight away. You can say the big problem with reflections. Reflections obviously move, especially in water, they ripple. There's some movement there, and then with the mirror doesn't transfer all the colors across. So if you know a little bit about color science, you know how light travels, and when it goes through a mirror, even high quality mirror loses its shape, its warp sometimes. If they shoot for 12 hours a day, by the end of it, the mirrors they use warp, they get dirt on them, so you have to. It's very, there's a lot of different details you need to make right. And then the second thing is the vertical alignment. So that's the most time consuming. Has everybody here seen a 3D film before? Yes, no. Has anybody not seen a 3D film before? Would you believe? No. So the way the whole shot is converged, so that means, as you kind of saw in that video, that they shoot out on an angle. So say if someone's 5 meters away, they have a slightly converged sort of look to them. So there's converged, which is how they shot this one, and then on the pad they actually shot parallel, so the cameras were exactly the same, and they went like this, and that's what we work on. So because they converge, they need to change them, so they need to make them in a workable environment. So that means that they have to tell the computer to make shots exactly like this. And they do that so that when they put CG in a shot, it sits at a specific distance from the camera. When you converge, you can't quite get that right. It'll be close, but it'll cause headaches, and that's the extreme of the headaches that people throw out. But that can happen. So to work on it, they dewarp it and take out the kind of fisheye sort of look to it, and you paralyze it so that the computer can put it in like a goblet or whatever it is, put it in, and then work on it in that stage, and then once it goes back onto the film projector for you guys to see it, it's all perfect, it looks nice, and it's so yeah, vertical alignment, it's a very sort of tedious process, but it involves, you get 5 points on the shot, top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right, and also the middle point. And so when they paralyze them, there's imperfections, there's warping, sometimes it's not all visually aligned. So we go through and actually top them, so we might get, say, 20 keyframes in a shot, and then up them into position so that when the copy gets it, they put a creature on any point on that shot where the focus is bottom left, bottom right, that it all fits and it looks good and it works. So that's the other main point. Focus matcher, sometimes when you come on set, they went all over New Zealand to do this. They shot for 18 months. There's over 100 locations, I think. And so they set up the cameras, they put them in boxes and truck them around every day. So when they get on set, there's imperfections, and one of them is a focus mismatch. It didn't happen a lot, they were pretty good. I think it's probably like 20 shots out of, I think it's 2,700 on the first public. So you get 20 shots, they don't have the right focus, it's not too bad. But then they did 158s, and they got it wrong a long time, unfortunately. You can also do retimes and QC. So QC is quality control. This is something that you do every single day on every single shot for every single artist. So animation and QCs, nothing, it's kind of what I talked about before, that perfection, nothing gets through without perfection. So it's something that they have like once a day, their days, because they review every shot, so you have to work every single day. Otherwise, it's pretty hard. Yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to play this video here, which is going off a little bit. Developed by Rita, so we can carry the boundary to make it.
Ocular Woman was born out of conversations between the chief scientist, Simon Robinson, and Fletcher. And they have particular issues to do with the camera rigs that they just needed to be able to solve to be able to create the stereo shots.
For stereo, I think the first real stereo project that we did was a tinting test. And from that we realized that doing everything twice was a big pain, and we needed tools that were actually stereo aware. We needed a pipeline that was stereo aware.
Yes, stereo was a big change for us. And again, this was driven largely by Avatar. As we were finishing King Kong and started discussing doing Avatar with Jim, it became clear that this was the film that we were really going to move to stereo on.
And it grew from there. So stereo took off, a lot of stereo films came out after Avatar. And it evolved into dealing with some of the fundamental algorithmic problems that we deal with in research. So when we got to see the results of Tron Legacy, you're shooting bright things with lovely shiny surfaces, and they're shooting that through a mirror rig, which takes away all the lovely shine and reflections. And they needed to replace them and make the shots match. It's like an impossible task. So with Ocular 2.2, we were working closely with DD on the Tron shots, and really trying to help them out to be able to get the color matching to work. So we had a lot of feedback from Pixamondo on Hugo and their use of Ocular 2 and what they needed to work for Ocular 3. So that really drove how we needed to change the nose, plugins, and improve the usability. The accuracy of that is kind of one of the fundamental pieces of technology that's in Nuke, it's in Ocular. People use that sort of technology to do retiming.
We had some very difficult retime shots, incredibly hard for a retime to get right, especially in stereo. You can have something that looks just passable in 2D and it looks like it's in 3D. But the Ocular retime worked pretty well.
The thing that I really found interesting with Ocular is that people were able to get good results fairly quickly. New people that came in didn't necessarily take very long to come up to speed, and their sort of hit rate in dailies was looking pretty good. So from a supervisor point of view, that was quite reassuring.
We are actually restoring right now a film from Norman McLaren that he did in 1951 and 1952. They are, in the book, they are the first stereoscopic animated short ever made. And with the restoration, we have film shrinkage. There's also timing problems that are related to the way they made the film in 3D in 51. Sometimes I have one eye that is sharp, the other eye that is blurry. I have timing problem. I have and I really have to go shot by shot, and sometimes almost frame by frame, to figure out which eyes are the best and do the fix according to the best eye.
You know, that's one of the really exciting things about working at the foundry and working on things like this, because you get to talk to people who are using those tools in ways you've never seen before. And you know, when we talk to clients, it's a really important part of the way we create the tool sets, because they tell us what they need to do. And being able to take that and turn it into something that's usable and just people can take it out of the box, it's pretty amazing.
So that doesn't really explain it in a technical sense, but very broad sense, and yeah. Okay, another t-shirt. Who can tell me? Who can tell me who is the head of Where Digital? Put your hand up.
Jules, Jerry.
I said put your hand up. Who is that?
Sorry.
Alright. Sweet. So, there's a lot of people over here. There's, during the end of the project, there's 1,800 and something, I think was the largest they had. I think at the time was the most they were putting people on like shipping containers and getting power and computers to get it done. There's a lot of people. This is kind of the different areas, different departments. This is some of them. I think there's 22, but some of them are very small. So production is something that not a lot of people do. I was saying something before that production is a real part of movies. Like you don't get to be an artist, but it is a very important job. A lot of people that end up in production aren't really fans of film, they just sort of fall into the job. But if you find that you're maybe not creative or you just want to work in the cool industry and have good careers, then production is something that is a legitimate job and they get paid quite a lot of money, and yeah, they can be fun if you're into organising and stuff. Editorial, so plates don't just magically turn up. Editorial actually have to cut them together, cut each shot down, send it out, get our shots up. So that's a big part of it. I/O is kind of gone now. I used to be the people that would take film, like film before, it used to exist, and they would put it on film every day and send it out daily for people to watch. It's a lot easier now with some digital, just do online, it's all on the network. Grading is just grading, they neutral grade each plate, so when it comes off the set, it's nice and neutral, so if there's a sun or whatever, they get rid of it. Camera is where they create cameras in use, so every department uses those cameras, etc. So they're one of the first people to get their hands on it, as well as us. If you work for a big company, you won't do everything. There's a lot of people that help you do a job. If you work for a small company, you'll have to learn how to do all of this, essentially. So you need to figure out if you want to go for the big guys, do one job, or go for a smaller sort of company, you might have to be a little bit more creative, do different stuff every day. Anyway, animation, creatures, layout, pretty much what you guys talked about before, ZBrush. I couldn't even list all the programs that they use, but there's a lot of them. Roto Paint Department is self-explanatory. I'll be going to the Paint Department in May, hopefully, so I'll, next time I can talk about that a bit more. Shaders, I live with a guy that's a shader, and he kind of explained to me what his job is. Essentially, it's coding and lighting. But, yeah, and then there's the compositing department, which is the top dogs. Yeah. This is basic Nuke script. This isn't from Weta at all, but this is something that they use. This is a very small script. There's another one in a second, which is a lot longer. So this is kind of the difference, things that go in. What I do sits at the top. So the main plate on this one is that one in the middle below the green box. So what I do is one node. So I do one node which sits below that plate and does 4 different jobs. And then they add to it. So the compositor adds in the creature, which is done by creatures. They use the camera from the camera department, which is Yeah, so something like that. Again, that is a small version of a script. A real script from a real compositor on like a 3-second shot is probably about 7 times that size. So that gives you a perspective of how hard it is to become a compositor. They don't, at the moment, they don't take people that haven't got 6 years experience in compositing to really sense. So it's one of the hardest departments in the whole entire world to get into, which is frustrating, especially if you're not cover, because you have to go to a small studio, work your ass off, and then get networking and get contacts and such. So the whole line was 2,370 shots. If the FX shots, the shots that don't have tracking markers or whatever, don't need to be renewed. So I did 1,000 the first one, and that was from May to November. And my average work week was about, averaged at like 72 hours. So that was a lot of work, but then we got an extra guy, which was the guy in that film. Can anyone remember his name? The guy that made the joke about the glasses? Angus? Yep. Well done, well done. So he was on set, and in New Zealand, that was a big film. That was 18 months of work.
Oh, it's not for you, right?
I'm watching you. Yeah, so after the Hobbit finished filming, there was 200 and something plus people that worked on that film on set every day. And imagine that film finished and everyone was out of a job, and there's only a few commercials that are shot in New Zealand, so a lot of them were jobless. So contracts is something that you also get used to when you leave here and you get a real job, unless you go for a smaller company, but bigger companies have contracts. So for me, I'm jobless in November technically, on a technical basis. Yeah, so that's something you'll have to deal with. Hobbit 2, I did 700 shots, there was 3 of us, so it was a bit easier. And Planet of the Apes 2, which we're working on, is 800 VFX shots total. I think that might go up. So I've done about 500, and that is due in May, so I'll go back and finish that up next week. Some of the differences between Hobbit and Apes. Apes was shot parallel, so that still meant they had to do all the processes, so it wasn't easier as such. It was still a lot of work, but they shot it parallel, so it made it a little bit easier for the camera department because they could easily put stuff in the shots and it would look good. But we still had to do colour and a little bit of film. So they shot on the Aria, which I don't know if you guys know about cameras, but the red epic is the one you saw, so that's the red sort of struggles on that camera, and then on the Aria, the channel was kind of bad. In a sense, so the shot very close, you see a lot of grain, which is not good when you're trying to composite something, because you have to, essentially that's at the front of the shot, it's your grain, you need to get rid of it, do all your bits and pieces, then put it back in. But taking it out is not an easy process. And then the rigs are quite different. They still use 3L, which is that little logo, that branding that they showed, but they, when Apes comes out, I can't talk about too much because it's not out yet, but a lot of it is very static. You saw those like cams that they throw around, that's the way Peter Jackson likes to shoot, which makes it hard because when you throw cameras around, stuff moves a little bit. Only the slides split, but that still is a problem. And then so the Aria, it's very static film. So there's a lot of locked off cameras, which I think there was like 3 at the top of 1 and 2 combined. So there's small differences there. Final remarks. So credits are cool. So when you stand up in the movie and leave, there's actually people's names there, and there's a lot of people that you can tell to run for so long. But maybe once in a while, just stick around for 5 minutes and read a few names, because yeah, you'll find my name when you watch it for the first time and you see your name. It's a cool experience. It kind of pays off for all the hard work that you do. Hard work pays off. So if you're the hardest working person in any job that you do, you will get recognised. It might not take different timings, but yeah, there's nothing you can put past hard work at all. Like, even if you're like not a very nice person, they don't like you, but if you work hard, then it will pay off. And then networking. That is probably the only thing that I would really use is networking. You can't just walk off the street, unfortunately. It may happen 1 in a million, but unless you know somebody, you very unlikely to get a job anywhere. So people like Gabe doing these things, you know, giving out business cards is one thing, but following them up and in like a good manner is another thing that actually not a lot of people are good at. You can't just be like, give me a job, see. You need to construct it in a way that is polite and is relative and is not beyond that person. Like, you know, I can't just give everybody jobs, you need the right person, but if you're polite about it, you know, go about it in certain ways, then you'll be fine. And then, because all good speeches end with a quote, this is my favorite one. I'll let you read it and get your own understanding of it. It was said by a rapper, but I still thought it was quite cool. It's the original quote is from a Greek philosopher, which I can't find the name of, but when I did my honours, I read about it. But yeah, that's kind of my philosophy of how it works. Yeah, and then that's pretty much it. The last thing is the Q&A, so ask me any questions you want, and if it's good, then I will give you a t-shirt. I have experience, and I have experience, but for now, that is it.
Thanks, Chris. Let's have any questions. These are kind of ask.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be about anything. It can be anything on this. So.
Is there a favorite working moment where you had, like a favorite shot or?
Favorite shot is definitely the first shot I ever worked on. If you guys have seen the Hobbit, Bjorn, they go into his house. Sorry, not Bjorn. The wizard, the guy that has shit on his face. That scene in the movie was going to be quite long and stuff, and they cut that out. And same as that Mirkwood in the extended DVD is 300 more shots, and there's like 20 extra minutes to film. But yeah, when that was the first one, and he walks outside the door and like walks around the house like talking to himself, and it was when it shots. There's a thing called shots, which is kind of like just you know all the mobs, all the test renders, all that stuff gets put in the right spot. And yeah, when I saw that pop up the first time, it had my name on it and stuff, and I was kind of yeah, and to see that for the first time, sitting there watching it, that was really so a t-shirt or a hero?
T-shirt.
So there's your prize for asking questions.
I've got like 20, so already asking better.
Hey, these sound for me.
What size are you? Extra large? Or I think the blue one's good. You're large or you're large?
Me? Large.
Yeah. So, any more questions? Let's go over here. Yeah.
Does the visual effects production happen side by side with the actual shooting of the movie?
No. So there's Peter Jackson owns the film, so he started his own production company to shoot the film. So then they turned it over to Park Road Productions, which is owned by us, and they do everything. So they do the sound editing, they do DI grade, which is when you see like Transformers, how it's very orangey and stuff. They do DI grade, and that's 100% over by Peter Jackson. So he touches everything. When he made Lord of the Rings, he's actually quite a smart guy. He bought a rubbish company, so that when he was on set, all the rubbish got taken away by his company. He bought a table company that supplied tables to the set. He bought a tent company, so he put tents around his tables. He bought a coffee company because they drank something like 30,000 cups of coffee on the holiday. So yeah, he's a very, very smart guy, very rich guy, and yeah, so they're part of Witter, but they're not. The same as Witter, Witter Workshop. They're part of us, but not in the sense. So, yeah. Let's go down the back, somewhere like that. Yeah, right here.
How often do you get your shots rejected as a director?
No, it's a fair question. QC is for a reason. Everyone needs to shot to get back to them. So out of that 1,000, I probably redid maybe 50 of them. So we only do like certain frames, so we can't do every single frame because that would just wouldn't work. So we do like keyframes. So if there's 48 frames a second, there's you know, a 2-second shot. Sometimes, say like for 10-second period, the camera would slip, the camera track might work. So we'll have to go through and redo that. Sometimes it's my fault if I've done it wrong. Sometimes it's like another department has created like a camera we use in Ocular, and sometimes that won't just won't work. So sometimes it's my fault, but yeah, probably 1 in every 20 comes back. Let's get back to the green top. Just get a present.
What to you? What is the track? Why do you like it?
Why do I like it? I watched Transcendence for the first time, and I walked out of that movie. I can't really explain it, but when I walked out of that movie, it was just like a light that turned off, and I had a nice big poster. I walked to a bus stop and accidentally found a poster that was in the bus stop. And yeah, I just had to have it. Everything about that movie to me is the perfect movie. There's obviously a few little things, but it had story, it had effects, it had sound amazing. And yeah, once I came out of that, I think I was second year at uni, and then it just took me from that point about a year, and then meeting Dave, discovering After Effects. And as soon as I started doing After Effects, I knew, and then YouTube was my avenue. It was how I kind of went forward and made that big essentially. Cool. Good to go. Around.
You said hard working and working was important aspect of getting the job.
Sorry, can you speak up?
You said hard work and networking.
Yep.
Was pretty much two important aspects of getting the job in the future.
Yep.
But keeping in mind that the industry is growing, people are getting very hard. What is your take on, you know, as far as the future of VFX?
It's kind of a hard question because it's not really in the artist's control. If you guys sort of know a little bit about it, the whole like tax scheme is kind of controlling at the moment. So companies, like pretty much people that are ruining it are the movie studios. They're asking for more tax rebates to go to a certain place. Then that means that that company does good, or that that city does good because they have people moving there. But then it uproots families that have to move around the world to work. And we're kind of lucky in Wellington to be, with one or two offices, so they come to us. But a lot of companies have to sort of travel around. A lot of workers have to travel around because you're on a contract basis. So once you get a job, you're not there for life. If you go to a bank, you can work there until you quit, essentially. But like I'm out of a job in November, and it could go good, it could go bad, it could be another contract. But every person goes through that. My first contract, I went over my contract by 2 weeks. I didn't have a job, but I was still going to work. I worked for essentially 2 weeks until my contract came to it. So yeah, that's the kind of hard work part about it. And you shouldn't be doing it for money. Like if you want to earn money in life, then yeah, you're in the right industry. But you shouldn't be able to work for free. Like you work for free with your friends, and make some videos and stuff like that. If you don't have it for free, then you know you're right. Sure, but yeah, to answer your question, it's right now is the most uncertain in the industry that it's ever been. It's just going up and up and up, and then sort of yeah, since the last 2 years after what happened, with the guys that did Emily did they have a studio that spent all this money in this amazing movie, all these amazing people, and then they go bust because the people that want it get them money. So there's if you look it up on the internet, there's a video. It's about 40 minutes long about what happened and how that went down and the guy that started that. It's kind of heartbreaking, it's really sad, but right now, if you're in the right place, the right time, and you're good, there's always going to be some visual effects, but it could, what I do, we've taken, maybe 7 or 8 people without Ocular. Ocular's great, and now there's only 3 of us, so yeah, there's no one answer for it, only time to tell. But I think you'll know within 5 years they would have sorted it out, because the tax things are getting so low now that people are going past, so they won't go any lower. So from now on, we're good Tesla. So probably in the 2 years or so, you'll know the answer. Sweet. Okay, yeah. Yep.
What other plugins do you use?
Do I use? Well, the company itself has every single plugin you can imagine. The guy that was talking in that Ocular video, the guy with glasses, his name's Chris Gerrard, and he creates stuff. So he creates stuff, and then we sort of not essentially what an loose term, and then they then sell that to the foundry who develop it and stuff. But yeah, pretty much all of them used, but by different departments. And yeah, I won't be able to tell which department uses which plugin, but every single one is used. Everyone, like with a central report back and says, do this, change this. And they just sold another program to a foundry, which I can't name, but you'll see. It's kind of they're being incorporated to the new release. I don't know if you guys saw, but a new program called New Studio, like 2 days ago, and it's kind of like a mix between Houdini, After Effects, and Nuke. So it kind of has that After Effects sort of timeline layout as a node, but it's very new. But yeah, there's some stuff in there as well, which it's not out yet, but you can go on the YouTube page and read a couple of words. Okay. Anybody else? Yep.
What does it take you usually to do a scene?
For me to do a scene? Well, each shot can take anywhere from about 5 minutes of work with, say, 20 minutes of rendering. And then at a scene, we don't really work in scenes or in shots. Some people work in scenes, but it depends on the scene. They change all the time. PDX likes to change his cut right up to the last second, so there's no one answer for that. But, yeah. Okay. Sweet. Keychains next. Anybody else?
The keychain's cool. The keychain is like printed, molded.
That's really good. I have one on my keychain. Yeah.
You said you don't have any visual effects school in New Zealand. Are you gonna? Because you've been to SCAD so far, right? So is there any chance you can hire a student from SCAD to better his job?
Don't hire no keychain. No keychain.
At least, like, you've seen the work, like, maybe
What do you think about it? What do you think?
Yeah, that's.
Live stream shut down.
Later.
Let's talk about this later.
There's always gonna be a gap between people that learn stuff and make stuff for school and the industry. They're literally the best people in the world at what they do. And no matter how good you are, 1 in, say, 5 billion would be good enough to go straight in. But I mean, there's different paths for everyone, but there's a different level.
But do you hire interns students from other? Because Breda is big.
I don't know if I would hire a student from another country. The VES, which is the Visual Effects Society, is like a group of people, because there's no like union or explanation, but you have to have 5 years experience. So that is what you should have for. Once you get 5 years experience, that's when you know that you're sweet, you've made it, and you won't have to struggle to work again. Most companies, if you look, when you apply for a job, it will always say 2 years experience. Even for like a junior composite, will be 2 years experience. So it might not even be a composite, but you need 2 years visual effects experience. Before I got my Word job, every application I looked at was 2 years, 2 years. So you're not going to start out being an artist. Most people, the general progression is you start as a runner, which drive people around, they give people coffee, they send out emails, they feed everyone, and then you do that for however long, 7 months is probably the minimum. Then you either go into production, or depending on the company, you go into like a roto, the roto goes into paint, and paint goes into compositing. And as for like creatures, you start, you don't even know, you go from like a regular, textures would be first, if you're doing textures for bits and pieces, then you go maybe do rigging, and then modeling, probably do the next step, and then ZBrush. So, but it all depends. If you're like a big company, it's very different. If you go and work for 30 miles down the road and it's 5 employees, you probably would be a different story, but I can't really talk about it because I went straight to the dollars. Last question? Really?
We're going to take one last question, or 2 questions, because two. On the previous question, so what is the longest time you spend on a single shot?
That's a hard question. Probably over a week. So you have it open, you do like different renders. Sometimes you have a shot that's like 3,000 frames, it's probably the longest. And there'll be like, you have problems with like fuzzing around people's heads, green screen that's fuzzing around here and stuff. So some of those shots you have to rotate yourself personally. So yeah, probably over a week actually. It'll be open, you're not working on it for 24 hours a day, you're working on like 3 shots at one time. But yeah, the shot on the first one where it's one camera, it's about 4,000 frames. It's the one where he walks around the dining table and and stuff. It took one compositor 9 months to do that shot. So yeah, there's definitely extremes, but it all depends.
What do you get out to with rendering?
I've dabbled in my office, so that works quite well. A bit of darts. You've always got 3 shots from the go. Having a red wall would be really nice because your computer, you can use that while it's rendering. Just it goes off and you can just keep working. And yeah, so lots of things. But you know, it's pretty social. Like they have drinks every Friday night. They have like a countdown timer on people's computers. They can like press a button and say it's like 3 hours, 45 minutes to 0 o'clock. And they also, when you're on over 60 hours, they feed you every night and you do breakfast like once a week. Is there one more question over here?
I was just wondering what you did to actually push and develop your skill set, like if you sort of practices or things like that.
Yeah, so making, in my final year of uni, I did my honors, and I made a show reel which was just general new stuff. So I signed up for a thing called pretty much you pay for tutorials, essentially is the best way. And then you buy them like quite specifically to ZBrush to whatever. The one that I went is called FX FXPhD.com, and so I bought another $300, got 10 lessons, and I just went through, did the tutorials, and then changed the plate side, bought some footage, and then did that tutorial with a different plate, and that was my show reel. But they do teach you on a job. Like I was very nervous about a job like walking in and not knowing anything, and being that moment where someone says, you know, Photoshop out that person and not knowing how to do something. But they do teach you. They look after you. You get someone like a go-to guy for any job you do. No one just sort of give you deep water stuff. You know, so don't be worried about it. It's down jobs, not being able to do something. They do look after you. But yeah, I mean, it's all up to you. If you do the extra work, if you finish school here and you don't get a job, if you just don't do anything to keep looking for a job, then you're not going to get better. But if you keep doing tutorials 12 times, spend the money, meet the right people, do it in your booking, it will come together. It's hard work. Thanks.
Long day for you guys. This workshop actually runs from 2 p.m. to 12 a.m. So that's my fault. Before you guys leave this place, this is the plan, right? We're kind of overtime right now. We have some ready, some food, especially for the production people. I know you guys come up in without lunch, so we can get the production people to get the food first and then come back it. I'm not sure if you guys want to stay, but there's something that's really, really cool coming up, which is a live V-Ray demonstration. V-Ray is one of the best renderers in the world. I appreciate it. I know RenderMan is used by Damien. I'm a competitor. I'm a V-Ray person. So we put the V-Ray guys for a long time, and I've become really, really tight with the developer. And for now, exclusively for today, they actually spent a lot of time to planning for a 1-hour workshop from 8 to 9 o'clock today. Right, 8 to 9 o'clock, we're gonna stream them live, and up here they're gonna show us how to do photoreal creature design, and that is done by developers and done by the people themselves who done V-Ray. So for those you guys who are interested to know about lighting for computer science, lighting for CG, lighting for film, I would recommend you guys to stay here and check it out. But between 6 to 8, and I know I'm late, we actually have a screening, The Rise of the Planet of the Apes. It's an amazing movie. The mocap technology behind the movie is amazing. So you want to stay back for that. We're going to have a 10 minutes break, and then prepare the show. Chris will be here. You can ask more questions. Just no t-shirts and freebies. But then I'll be here. So 10-minute break. We can go out there. So thanks, guys. Stay back for the